Hello. How's it going, my friend?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? I love that greeting.
Welcome to the live stream of consciousness, everybody. How you doing? I'm doing great.
I
As
am
you
doing
will
great.
soon find out. What's going on in your life, Mr. Michael Zinn?
What's going on in my life? Everything, man. I can't believe we're here again. This is crazy. Episode number 8. It seems like I turn around and it's the next one. It's like life is happening. It's great.
Life is indeed happening.
Yeah, today was fun. Today I actually was down the block from me. There is a park, and they have this big band shell. They hold the Great South Bay Festival there every year. And we were shooting a video for Ricky Bird, who is the guitar player for Joan Jett. He was Joan Jett's original guitar player. He's got a record coming out, and me and my buddy Steve, Steve Sage, we were shooting some video footage for a music video for him. So it was a fun day.
That's awesome. Loving that.
Fun
I've been
day.
having a great time writing this thing for Alice Cooper.
Yeah, you were telling me earlier.
Yeah,
tell me more. I'm excited.
I can't say anything about it more than just like he's going to read it. Like, so everything I'm writing, hey Angela, how's it going? Is gonna come out of his mouth, and I just think that's so cool because I love Alice Cooper.
That's you know what? I love that you're even like that's how you're approaching it, and that's the gratitude that you have. That's great.
Well, it's like writing for like Vincent Price or somebody, like you're just like, Alice Cooper is gonna say this. Like, what should I make? Cool. What should I make Alice Cooper say? Like, ooh, like it's a real responsibility. So I've been loving that, and I just finished my second draft, and the little small group that I've shared it with have been really positive about it. So I've been super like, yeah, the Alice Cooper thing is real. Cool. But yeah, so I'm super excited. Thank you guys for being here, Taylor. I'm really excited to have this conversation today. I've talked about this stuff in like pieces, and in so many fashions. I have held myself back from, I guess, like fully expressing this story or whatever in some fashions because I was still processing it, or so I thought.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to talk about with it, cool. I mean, like before we go, I guess I should thank the Rams Network for hosting us here on Twitch.
Yeah, let's do our formalities.
Yeah, and thank you guys. We just had a nice phone call with them to help us start getting a little schedule going, so we'll know like who's coming on as guests and stuff really far in advance, and they'll be able to promote us and help us build our audience. But thank you so much to everybody who's been coming regularly, and especially those who have been dragging people along with them, boyfriends and husbands and stuff like that. We really appreciate that, building our audience. And it's interesting. This whole subject is a bit of a taboo, for some people. It's ayahuasca or whatever else, it's drugs, psychedelic drugs,
right?
People going crazy, and I gotta be honest, that's pretty much where my mind was about it for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And I really want to give you some history of myself so you can understand who it is that you're talking to here, who is about to tell you this journey on the plant medicine.
So we're going back to straight edge Jesse.
Yeah. So, my mom and my dad were straight edge people. My mom had the experience in her life. She used to hang out with what she described as the losers, who smoked a lot of weed and didn't really do much or get anything done. So much of what I've tried to tell her since is, the marijuana will make you feel good about whatever it is you want to do. And if you want to party, then it'll make you feel good about that. But if you want to relax, it'll make you feel good about that too. So, sometimes, I think marijuana gets a bad rap for some of the people who are drawn to it, who just want to feel good about sitting around, which is fine. Not everybody has to
Well,
be
they're
the
good at it.
Flash. Yeah, not everybody has to be the Flash. But so my mom, really had like a negative attitude towards drugs in general, and at weed in particular, because of the friend group that she had that had really misused it.
Okay.
And my father, I think he's talked about, he had very, very limited experience with marijuana right when he got into Twisted Sister with JJ French, but it wasn't for him. Didn't like it. But I've seen the type of people who are similar to my dad and whatnot who get paranoid, and it has a lot to do with feeling off kilter, because these experiences really throw your alignment into a new place. And sometimes when we feel these things, we just kind of go, nope, don't do that. What's that?
It's
I don't
not
like
for
that.
everybody. Yeah, it's not for
Yeah.
everybody.
Or it isn't for anybody at that moment,
Right.
perhaps too.
Right.
I think things change sometimes as well, and there are other moments, because so often it's just people aren't prepared to have some sort of crazy psychedelic experience. And some people, I think, who are very open, like my father, and also my girlfriend Julie's had similar experiences, and I think it's because she's so open. She has a little bit of like some marijuana or something like that, and then she starts reverting back to like, I was a shaman yesterday, and she's feeling like, whoa, like, and she goes, no, 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 like, this is crazy. This is crazy. No, I pull it in. So I think actually sometimes those people who really have those experiences that they don't want to like let go, it's because they are actually very connected, and it scares them how powerful the thing is, and you can resist these experiences. But before I get into anything like that, let me inform what that made me into. I loved and really honored my parents, and I was an athlete, and I sang and whatever else. And cigarettes wise, you could really see like that stuff wasn't good for you. Smoking wasn't good for you. So I was very anti. Also, I was a serious atheist. I mean, a very, very serious atheist. When my parents tried to send me to school, to like Protestant religious school, and I don't know when it was. I don't think it was there necessarily, because apparently that's not a Protestant symbol. But I went into some church at some point, and I saw Christ hanging from a cross, like, and blood like dripping from his head. And I just said, these people are trying to depower me. They're trying to take away my power. I've heard about this man. He was a good man, and look how they depict him. They depict him powerlessly.
Wow, interesting. Yeah.
And I was like, no way. Like this is a lie. This is fear. I don't believe in this. This is bad.
Didn't say
And
right.
yeah, and I was very anti-religion for a very long time. And then in like high school, I had a teacher who taught like natural law. And it was like, oh, look, you lift the thing and it falls. Gravity, like, aha. And I was like, yes, this makes sense to me.
I like the natural law.
Yeah, natural was very like kind of a simple like nonsense, but I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, like what I can prove or whatever. And if you follow what's in the history books and like what's like in American history books, like what is there? I mean, there's no room for religion whatsoever. And honestly, I thought any person who believed in religion was an idiot. And it was a long time before I kind of started to resculpt that position into anybody who believed in religion was misguided, and hopefully one day they find their way to some reasonability. Now, this isn't to say that I was not and have not always been a very highly moral person, an ethical person, but my morals and my ethics came from within, and I believe that everybody should find their way to the reasonability of morals and ethics because it's freaking the right answer, not because the big dude upstairs told me to do it, or some guy in sandals named Jesus said it was a good idea. Like, do it because it's in your heart and that's what you like believe. Right. So like I'm very big supporter of free will. That's like my big thing. I believe everybody should be able to do whatever the hell they want to do, as long as they're not, directly hurting.
And the answer is different for everybody.
Yes, exactly. So I was really generally closed. However, my best friend Chris, I have a tattoo to represent Chris on my shoulder. He's my muse. He passed away a month and a half before my 21st birthday. And I've told the story about how I got into this deep meditation. I think it was after my Kundalini awakening, and I connected with him or whatever. But less told is the story of me on the road with him. Right before he passed away, he and I were on the road for like 36 hours. So I don't know where this was in the conversation, but it was towards the end of the conversation, because he felt, and so many people were very like, they didn't want to approach me about these things. And this was before I was 21. And Chris just said, "Hey, Jess, I know that you really have a lot of trouble with the idea of smoking marijuana. You're smoking, you sing, and all this stuff. But would you eat it? Like, because me and my friends, we make brownies, and
Right.
and they're delicious, and
Old school
I
edibles.
really think it would be good for you."
Yeah.
And and I trusted Chris. He and I really bonded over this trip, this long trip together. Like, we were really good friends, and then we became best friends. And I mean, he was my rock for 2 years of like trying to believe in myself and make music. And like,
Mhm.
he died a half an hour after that.
Mhm.
But I had changed my mind. At the same time, I had already put it out into the world that like I wasn't interested in that stuff whatsoever. So it was a long time before I was ever approached again. And my brother Cody, I remember, came to me, and they're like, seniors and graduating high school or whatever, and they're dabbling in marijuana. Cody was using weed to compensate for his ADHD medicine,
Right, right.
which
Yeah.
was
You were telling us the story.
stopping him from sleeping and killing his appetite. So he was smoking weed to fix that, right? So he approaches me all like sort of like because he thinks I'm going to be in like total resistance. But and I didn't remember this until later, but because of this conversation with Chris years earlier, I realized I was quietly kind of open to it. And I had been thinking about starting to drink socially, because I thought that was kind of holding me back in social situations with comic books, which I really put myself out there with comic books and with editors, but not being a part of the bar scene always seemed to be a problem, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, I remember that story. It's actually that's a poignant story, about the way that you felt in that peer group, and you felt like people were like, well, he doesn't drink and smoke, he's not cool. And it's poignant, but a different story. Anyway, go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
But
I
but
digress.
anyway, he Cody comes to me and he's like, Jesse, I think that maybe like you should try some marijuana. And I go, okay.
Got any?
And he's like, okay, like okay, like you're gonna do this. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, and it was just really like a change had happened with me, and I was feeling like I was missing out a little bit on some level in terms of just like the connectiveness with the group, because I wasn't partaking,
Right.
and this had been said to me before, I realized later, and I was like, okay, all right. So eventually, it happened. Now I talk about this not because smoking marijuana was this same sort of spiritual thing that ayahuasca has been for me, and a few other things have been for me, like I will explain in a little bit.
Mhm.
But marijuana was a real gateway for me, because one of the main things was I was driving my car like all the way locked, shifted in high gear.
Mhm.
And when I smoked for the first time, and I mean the first time I got like really high, I started to see that like that was the case, and that I was sort of like gonna kill myself. I was like, "Wah," I'm like,
Mhm. Mhm.
whoa, man, like I'm gonna blow my,
Blow your
I've
engine.
I've
Yeah.
always driven my cars very like ruggedly,
Right.
and so I drove my body,
Right.
and I immediately started to kind of shift a bit just from that experience and have some reasonable, like, sort of like, perspective on myself, and started
Right.
to
Right. Right.
calm down. And I still was not close to realizing the depression that I had been fighting my whole life,
Mhm.
but it at least gave me room to breathe and think. And part of that breathing and thinking was taking a psychedelic for the first time,
Mhm.
which originally was going to be LSD, but as with all things that I do, I read and study the thing before I try to do it. When I was going to
Right.
write comic books, I was like, I need to know everything about the comic books. I like to, really understand what I'm working with. And so in digging into LSD, and the reason why LSD was on the table was because Steve Jobs had famously been quoted as
Right.
saying
You
that he
said that. Yeah.
wouldn't have created Apple computers. And he was one of my idols as like an outside of the box thinker. I was a big Apple fan at the time.
Mhm.
Apple has since become just like every other company. But at the time, they were really innovative and interesting, and he fascinated me. So when I read about LSD, it kept being compared, similarly to psilocybin mushrooms.
Mhm.
And I just felt a lot more comfortable with the mushrooms. They were mushrooms.
Mhm.
And the other thing was like some sort of chemical that I was putting in my body.
Yeah, I
And
always felt that way too.
yeah,
Organic versus
yeah. And
man-made.
yeah, exactly. And my family has always been like pretty, holistic, when we can be, and wise in being, about our nutrition and what we put in our bodies and stuff, and not trying to like over drug ourselves up with anything. So I was raised right, is what I should say. Um, but the mushrooms connected with me. And now I start with the mushrooms on this ayahuasca episode because it really is the beginning of everything. And for me,
Mhm.
because I now realize I have had many past lives with these plants, working with these plants. You think about it. How many cities are there on the planet, and like big, cities where they're doing their thing? And then how many tribes are there on the planet?
Mhm.
How many people and cultures are there that are living more off the land and more out in the jungle? And there's a lot of people. And if we're recycling, how many lives you think you've had the chance to live in the jungle working with plant medicine on your
Sure.
16th
Yeah.
birthday and going out into the forest to
Sure.
realign yourself and all these things? It's
Well, I
it's
mean,
a rite of passage.
yeah, I mean, I can remember growing up hearing about Indian lore, like the rite of passage, like you said. You would, at one point in your life, as a young man, a teenager, you would sit by the fire and you'd have this spirit animal ceremony, and that was all probably, it was all not drug related, but it was all plant medicine related. I say
Yeah.
drug related, but
And I,
psychedelic related.
exactly, you're absolutely right. And they say, once you've connected to the source in
What's
this
up, Lisa?
way, hey, how's it going? And they say, once you've connected to the source in this way, all roads lead to it.
Okay.
And I really have seen that to be true. I can remember one time I just like I kind of didn't have anything but a bunch of booze in my cabinet because and I was like sort of freshly divorced and really sad, was missing my kids. And I was just like, well, I'm gonna drink some alcohol then, which is something I never do.
Mhm.
But I like drank a whole bunch, and I'm in my backyard puking on the lawn, having a psychedelic experience, and my spirits are saying to me so clearly, "Why did you do this to yourself?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I don't know." And they're like, you don't like this. And I was like, I know I don't like this. And she's like, you've done this a little to yourself before, enough to know you really don't like this. Like, why did you do this? Like, and then they said that was it. It was just, they just kept going. So you're not going to do this again, right? Like, I'm like, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, no, I promise. Not going to do this
Accountability.
again.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really is true that, once you've connected to this thing, and if you've connected before, that there's a chance that, a certain, maybe something small, even doing some marijuana could blow your doors off in
Mhm.
terms of opening you up to the higher energies. Because that's really what it is.
Mhm.
There are higher vibrating energies,
Mhm.
and these plants help us access them
Mhm.
and sort of know they're there. Sometimes I've heard people say things like, oh, well, I don't need that or whatever. And, I don't necessarily think anybody needs it. But I think it might take you like days in a dark room, or, meditating, for hours on end, to get yourself into the sensitivity place
Mhm.
that you can get to very quickly and understand very quickly from the right experience with plants and readjust yourself in some really fabulous ways that will add to your perspective and not something that you have to rely upon. I think that's the thing that a lot of people feel, sometimes worry about. They think like, oh, I'm going to get hooked on ayahuasca.
Right.
You're not going to get hooked on ayahuasca. You're not going to get hooked on psilocybin.
Right.
What do you call these master teacher plants? They are teachers, and when trust me, you're drawn to them when you're drawn to them, and when you take them and you weren't really supposed to, you kind of know immediately, and you're like, oh,
Right.
I didn't like that. It just hurt my stomach, and I didn't have a nice time, and I'm not
Right.
doing that again for a while.
Right.
But it's been proven now, and I just want to say this too before I get off on the bandwagon of this whole story, that the psilocybin, additionally, it's a huge depression medicine, and that was very
Yeah, well,
much
they've
what
been making a lot of advances in the microdosing and
yes.
studying the effects. I mean, and it's great. I mean, personally, my experience is limited. I am certainly intrigued by the ayahuasca experience and ceremony and the what's the word I'm looking for? The connection to the spiritual. I don't want to say quest. That's not really the right word, but
Well, and ayahuasca, has been shown to help people kick addictions, very, very safely.
What's up, Stevie Sage?
Hey, Sage, how's it going, man? Just about to get into the real meat of it all.
So
What up?
for people who don't know what ayahuasca is, because I mean, obviously we know what weed is, we know what mushrooms are. It's very straightforward. I had this this picture that I found. Can you tell us what's going on here? You know what
Yeah, well, I think we've got the two components that make up the ayahuasca, which is the vine and then this leaf. I always forget the name of the leaf. But they are mixed together. The ayahuasca vine
so
and
it's
the
not
leaf.
something you just and I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. The reason I wanted to show this is it's not something you just find like weed that you could just
No, no,
grow
no.
ayahuasca.
Yeah.
It's like a
So
concoction, but it's
yeah,
natural.
it's a brew that is made from, like initially in the ceremony that I just had, it starts you have a little sip of the vine, of just the vine by itself.
Mhm.
And then you have the vine mixed with this other thing. But I mean, this is a liquid, there's nothing floating in it. It's just a
It's like a
stew
tea
made
that
from
you
this.
made from
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people really don't like the taste. I don't mind the taste of it at all. Most of my experiences are pretty mild compared to most. I think it's because I have a lot of experience in other lives with the plant medicines, and I
Mhm,
think ayahuasca especially.
mhm.
I was told by a source that I trust um, that I had been working with ayahuasca since like 500 AD and with psilocybin in 3 different countries and 3 different
Wow,
continents, and with marijuana since the Industrial Revolution as a hemp farmer and as a scientist working with DMT, testing them on rats. Like, I have a lot of
wow,
history with these plants.
interesting.
So and it's so funny. My brothers have connected with a time where the three of us were together, and we ended up in Australia and got taken in by an Aboriginal tribe, all took on Aboriginal wives and were medicine men in the tribe.
Wow,
Yeah. Which is really interesting. I haven't connected to that memory, but it really warmed my heart just because I like
that's
to
great.
call
Yeah,
them friends, and I know they've been trying to be my friend more. It's nice.
right.
So let me tell you about my experience with this psilocybin, and this is the beginning that'll really jump everything in, because this is the beginning, and what I'm going to talk about at the end of the night is the end, which was this weekend, but this was the beginning, and I really knew and kind of got everything that I needed to know from this one experience. When I took the psilocybin, and I ended up taking it by myself, the mushrooms, um it like blew my doors off, but I like not in a fashion where it was like, like I was just sort of like, it felt like a deep computer within my mind was booted up, and I was like, wait, what? Oh, this is all bullshit. Like I just
Sweet.
I
What?
just
That's another great
realized,
T-shirt right there.
yeah, like whoa. The first thing was I was just sort of filled with wisdom, and with that wisdom came gratitude. The
Mm,
very first tattoo I got besides my wedding ring is this tattoo on my wrist that says thank you
mhm.
underneath the phoenix, which was, I always wanted to get a phoenix, but I decided I had to get thank you and the phoenix. I got them at the same time.
Okay.
Um, and I realized I was really ungrateful that I had this sort of like view of, I'm going to draw like a little picture here,
You
but
were ungrateful before this experience, you're
yeah,
saying?
before this
I got
experience, and
you.
my
You
brother
were
Cody had recently had told me that I was ungrateful, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for this thing. I'm grateful for this
right.
thing. Grateful for this thing. And he was like, nah, you're not so grateful. And I was like, okay. And I what I came to see was that, like, what I saw was, the thing from Mythbusters where they make them out of jelly, they make the little people and then they use them for target practice. I
Not
saw,
familiar with it.
well, if for those people who remember Mythbusters, they'd make these little jelly men. So picture this as like a little bit of gelatin,
Okay.
and then you shoot the BBs into it, right?
Okay.
So this BB represents just like a little bit that's sticking in there, but no piece of the gelatin is gone, right? And really, it's just sort of spread apart to allow for this negative BB, right?
Right.
And as the BBs come, and over time, I felt like I had been hit with a lot of BBs, and I was like, "Oh no, it's BBs, 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 BBs." And after a while, all I really could focus upon was the BBs, and I was like, "Holy crap!" In this like instance, I'm like, the BBs are just this big, and the good is literally infinite.
Mm,
It's infinite good, and it's these tiny little BBs that I'm fucking focusing on, these things.
mm,
And one of the main things of it I saw was my family, that I was upset with my mom and my dad, and I hated it as
mm.
soon as this happened. Like, as soon as I realized the infinite good small BBs, like, and this was like in an instant, and I was like, and I'm upset with my mom and my dad. No, I love them. I love them more than I fucking care about any of that.
Okay.
And in that moment, I literally went like, I forgive them for anything. Like, this was 28. This was a long time ago, and
Right.
I was just like, I forgive them. I want to love them. I want to love them. I want to get past that. I don't care about that. I
Right. Right.
care about caring about them and getting that right.
Okay.
And I had this like realization in instance, and very quickly my next realization was, who the fuck has kept this experience from me? I feel grateful. I'm loving my
Mm,
family. I'm appreciating my life. How has this been demonized in any way, shape, or form? This is a great
right.
gift. Like in just in 15 seconds, I was like, this is the greatest gift I
Right.
have ever been given in my life. I told my wife Patty, at the time, that it was the greatest experience of my life. And she said, what about when we got married? What about when we had our kids? I said, I was not capable of feeling as great at that time as I felt in this time.
Right.
That was not there.
Opened up your tolerance to a bigger level of
Yeah, I was
appreciation.
like, it was available for me to be feeling great. And I went into the back, and I had an experience at the time, which I thought at the time was sort of a positive experience about me and Patty, about how I was like, I wish she was there. And that I always wish she was there. Like, that happened all the time. But that
Mhm,
was actually a little bit of like really the source of like why she wasn't exactly right for me, because she wasn't exactly down for the same adventure I was down for.
mhm, mhm.
Which later I understood, what the real meaning of it was. And then, the next big realization for me at that time was walking into my garage and standing up in front of one of my action figures of Batman, who was standing up on the rooftop, and realizing that I had felt like he was bigger than me. And this went for everything. Now, these psychedelic experiences, across the board, what they do is they fix your board. If you think about a board like in a studio, if you've ever been into a studio, there's a board with all sorts of knobs, and it's for the drums, and it's for the for the guitar, and it's for the tambourine and the guy's vocals and all the different instruments that might be on the track. Maybe there's some
Right.
violin, whatever else. If you're dealing with an orchestra, you got all sorts of different things. And a person is definitely an orchestra, right? So
Mhm.
you probably have yours set up in all different configurations. But
Mhm.
and this configuration, this board is based on the natural law that we talk about, right? And this is also things that I understood in an instance: natural law, polarity, everything's polarized,
Mhm.
right? So my psyche was based on where I had polarized my different measurements of me and the world, and how those things are adding
Oh.
up. And that a balanced psyche was just, there is no good, there is no evil. We're just polarized. I need to have a balanced attitude about everything. I am out of balance. I have
Mhm.
scaled Batman and D. Snyder as being much bigger than me, and he's just a man who did a thing, and that's just an idea that somebody had that got to catch fire in this special way, and
Right.
perspective on myself within the thing, and all of a sudden, just within this very first time, I like mentally balanced all of my EQ. I balanced my
Right.
EQ. However, my subconscious was still imbalanced.
Sure, sure.
So going out into the world after this experience, I was not immediately healed. And honestly, let me tell you what I did with my family, which really fucked things up. I thought, because I thought so highly of my mom and my dad, and these things were bothering me. I knew they were bothering me, that there was things that I hadn't spoken out loud and I needed to talk to them, kind of thing. And I thought if I could speak to them about these things, I can make them better.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
what ended up happening was, every time I would try to rectify things, and I would always go in with the best of intentions. I swear, I really did. My intention was, I wanted it to be good. I
Right.
was like,
Of
and
course.
I thought the only way out is through. Let's, we'll have a tough conversation, and they can handle it, and we'll be on the other side.
Right.
I would end up sort of in a situation where my mom has a tendency to sometimes not remember things or deny things, whether it's, hey, innocently not remembering,
Right, right, right.
but, maybe the way she's saying it is a little bit denial of the thing you're saying. And that has always been a little triggering for me, not being understood, like I'm literally telling you what my experience is and you're going, no, that didn't happen.
Right.
And we would just end up triggering each other. I would trigger them trying to sort of have these conversations. They would get triggered, trigger me, and then it would end up being a fight. And it kept going like that for a while. Like, it was not awesome. But meanwhile, I was working with these things, and my family, like my mom's like, I don't think any of this stuff's working. But it was really just me refusing to give up on the idea that they couldn't handle this conversation. They couldn't handle this idea. Come on, get to my level. You're my parents. You're higher level than me.
Right,
You
right,
should
right.
be able to deal with this. But to a certain degree, as soon as I did that psilocybin that one day, I immediately rose to a higher level than them. And the
Mm.
higher level than them was, I forgive them for everything. It doesn't matter. I just love them and I want it to be nice.
Right,
But
right, right.
I got locked up in the, oh, well, maybe we can have a conversation about it and I'll feel a little better about it.
Mhm.
But ultimately, by being very connected over this time and beginning my journey eventually with ayahuasca, which I'm gonna start talking about in a moment, I got the message of, like, if I put this away, they will be able to put this away, and that was the breakthrough really with my family in a lot of ways, was me putting away things that for whatever reason I felt like I shouldn't have to put away,
Right.
but I did anyway because that was what I was being guided to do. And
Right.
and hey, it wasn't immediate. I was like, I had to be kind of
Right.
convinced a little, but I did that work, and those things did move forward, and everything that they said would happen happened.
Right, right.
So I had a great experience with psilocybin, and I went back to psilocybin a number of times, working with that for a little while. And I had read a lot about all the other psychedelic drugs, the natural ones I was most interested in, like peyote and ayahuasca and things like that. But honestly, I was very frightened by so many of the stories that people had, so many stories
Yeah.
people told. Like, if you go and just like listen to people's stories, you're like, oh, what happened?
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my God.
crazy stuff happens.
I don't want that to happen to me. And there's something I always say about death, where it's like, it's really silly to worry about how you might die, because there's only one way and there's really a lot of ways to die. So it's like, there's so many ways to die. If you're gonna sit here like, oh, what if it's on fire? Well, come on, don't focus on that one.
Right, right,
Bring that
right,
one
right.
in,
I get what
you
you're
know,
saying. Sure.
whatever. But I mean, like, there's just so many possible
Experience.
answers,
Yeah, yeah.
and yours is going to be different. Yours is going to be unique to you, and that's the real thing that I've learned since then.
Mhm.
Don't fear all the experiences that you're hearing of others, because it's not going to have anything to do with them. That
Right,
story is something to do with them, something to do with their
right.
demons. And some people have
Yeah.
pretty scary demons, and if their demons scare you, it's because those probably are the type of demons you got,
Right, right, right.
which I would learn. So, having well, I will say this first. So my brothers, they were quicker on the trigger with ayahuasca. And my brother, I found out recently through the story when he was on the show, that he got there through doing the different brain scan things and seeing different
Right.
things that were happening with ayahuasca. And him and my brother went. And again, they had a really great, experience, which
Mhm.
drove, I think, my mother to try ayahuasca as
So
well,
she did before
before me.
you?
I
Wow.
think she did it before me as well.
Wow.
So by that time, I was starting to feel like, oh, what am I, a pussy? Because I didn't even do DMT, which I kept pushing off. Like, I had an offer from a friend, but another friend of mine was like, it was like dying, and he scared me from doing it.
Yeah, I've heard
And
some interesting stories about DMT as well.
I love DMT.
Oh,
DMT
yeah.
is wonderful. It's a very nice experience, and it's like over in a second, and and it's just kind of like, yay, that was great. It's really nice, and DMT is derived from the ayahuasca plant, and
Okay.
it's sort of an active ingredient of the human body that we release in death
Right,
and in birth and stuff.
right.
So it's an interesting other thing to read up upon. So anyway, um, I finally found my way to an ayahuasca thing that's no longer going on in Los Angeles. And it was really not the greatest thing. And my mother was really crap talking it when she found out about it. She was investigating it. She was all worried about it because she's doing it, but she's doing it in Peru with all these shaman have been doing it for forever. And I'm doing it in Los Angeles with some asshole, 30 something or
Uh,
whatever.
what
Um,
are the ramifications of that? Is that is it coming to the United States now? I mean, I originally heard you had to go to Peru to do it.
Honestly, I don't know, and I don't care. And this is a long time ago, so I'm going to talk about the exact specifications about this one.
I
So,
gotcha. I
because
got
I know I'm not getting anybody in trouble, but they were in a ramshackle building,
Mhm,
where it was like a department store,
mhm,
and they had this thing blocked out. With all and you would set up in a circle, and they probably have like 20 people at a time,
mhm,
and they served ayahuasca, and it was pretty strong medicine, and they also had DMT as like an activator,
mm.
which it did act as so. um
It
and
act it
um
activated.
and I went, and basically I did it 2 weekends in a row, and then my mother got a hold of me and made me scared me off, and I didn't go back for another few months. But I had some of the greatest experience of my life. And on my first experience, I kind of just awoke feeling really great. And so much of it was always the same experience where you use the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force the water to drink.
Right.
Well, Mother Ayahuasca would lead me as the horse to water.
Mhm,
And she'd be like, there's the water, and this is what it means, and this is why it's good.
mhm.
And I was like, all right, I see that. And I would drink the water. And then as soon as I would drink the water, I would have to go to the bathroom. And now I asked her, because most of the people who are, having experiences on ayahuasca tend to be purging a decent amount.
Mhm.
And I only purged once, and it was thinking about an ex-girlfriend, and that was it. It was immediate. I drank the medicine and I purged immediately, and it
Mhm.
was because I was thinking about her at the time. It was just in relation to that relationship, and the relationship was stuck in me, and I get that
Yeah.
because it wasn't processing. But other than that, I never did anything but go to the bathroom. But I would go to the bathroom a lot. And I remember one of my big things there was that I was very, very high on the ayahuasca, and May, one of the guardians, who was my favorite. She was super sweet, had great energy, and she came up to me in the back. I used to pace around the back, and I would do gymnastics. I felt so good, and it's part of them trying to show me that like I'm okay, that like I was healed. They've been trying to tell me like I'm healed for so long in so many ways, and that like just effort in that direction and you will fix yourself, kind of thing. Because so much of what I keep saying is really true.
Intention.
I really healed myself in that first psilocybin experience. I knew the way immediately, and I opened that door, and I was very open, and I was just trying to get it right, from there. But I was so much on the path. So she gives me this hit, and it was crazy because it felt like a ghost pressed against my throat and stopped me from coughing. I wanted to cough so bad, but it's like, stop me. And I take this crazy hit of DMT, and I like pass out on this pillow that they had for me in the back that somebody was sitting on. And the next thing I realize, I smash my face on the wall in the inside back room, and I hit the ground. Yeah, I hit the ground in the plastic grass that they've got back there. And I'm like, whoa, that ought to help you get me real deep, Mother Ayahuasca. Like at this point, I'm really trying to like connect as deeply as I can. I've been meditating. I've been doing so many things to try to connect to this thing that I know is there. And first thing I'm like, what the hell am I doing in here? And she tells me, she says, this is the back room where they put the people who aren't having a good time. And I say, okay, so why am I here? And she's like, well, are you having a good time? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, I'm using you to clear the room. And I was like, okay. And she's like, yeah. So I relax. And I'm like, all right. So I feel my energy kind of like zone out, like in like the room. And like, I feel like I get reset. And all of a sudden I see this like row after row after row of these slightly more complex formation shapes. It essentially was like a trash bag with a hand inside of it, and it was testing out different configurations. It was like but it was like that, but it was like polygons, like it was like
so like
it was
Tron almost.
Yeah. And what I understood it to be was it was a visual representation of the consciousness of God, of the universe, which is, God as just everything. When it went from sleeping to how about this? Maybe a little of that.
Okay. Oh, that's I love that visual representation.
Yeah. And it was like I saw it all work itself out. And then at a certain point when it started to get like really complex, they just went whew, and what they shot out really quick, but I saw kind of slowly, was this weaving of consciousness loving itself and consciousness being here and sort of like going, I want to go down there and play with me. I want to go down there and play with me. I want to go down there and play with me, until it became our forefathers and my forefathers and your forefathers, like our people going, yeah, I like what they're doing here. I like him and I like her and I want to be their baby and I want to be their child and I want to represent them and I want to show them how much I love them and I want to show them how beautiful they are and I want to show them that their energy matters and I want to show them that this family matters and I want to show them how much love there is for them on the other side, where there's infinite love, where this infinite love is source. So it's basically like these spirits and reality sort of being woven by this love for the intelligence on the other side of things that is observing the physical. Okay. And that, and that everything physical essentially is just coming from this perpetual love. All the growth of this tree of life was just coming from this love. And that I and everybody I knew was a part of this love. You came down here, even though like there's so many things that you don't like about the world. Yeah, well, we got here honestly, like because of people you love doing things that they thought were right at the time, whether it was in the 1600s or the 1400s and going along with whatever things. And yeah, there are things to unravel and take back or whatever, but more than you might not like some of this, you love it. That's why you came. You love the people and you love their faults and their foibles and you love the situations and you made them and you helped make them as part of this tapestry and you came down here the first time because you loved it and that hasn't changed. And and you're here back every time, and the braid that I was seeing was sort of like the souls going from the other side to this side to the other side
Wow.
to this side to the
This
other
is great.
side
Yeah,
to this
this is
side
now I
and
understand
coming
why you're
back.
so excited. So this is all this most recent experience.
No,
No,
this
this
was just
is
my first ayahuasca
oh
experience.
wow.
So,
Okay.
I'm gonna bring us
Wow.
into that one because that one is actually the easiest one to explain.
I
So
think
that's
you're
why I really
articulating it a lot
explaining
better than ever. Yeah, yeah.
these guys this way.
It's great.
So, so I saw this sort of the gestation of the mind of God, of just and again, this is a visual representation to represent something that has no visual.
Hmm, hmm.
They were just trying to explain how consciousness was like feeling itself,
Yeah, yeah.
sort of,
It makes so much sense. Yeah.
without anything, there's just feeling,
Right.
and God was, first it was just sort of like, what do I feel like? What does thought feel like? The
Hmm.
first thought was like up and down and left and right, just away from its equilibrium, just away from this center that it had always been that hadn't moved, and then
Hmm.
all of a sudden, as we talk about in the universal law, polarity, because now I can try up and I can try down and I can
Right.
try left and I can try right and I can try this configuration. But all of those configurations are essentially not in that oneness balance with the oneness, and there's always a piece of the universe that is in that oneness balance. So we're living in this fundamental, crazy person. We're living in a bipolar universe. It's got two poles and everything is true. And something I really wanted to say, it's so much of what I learned along the way is whenever you're having different experiences, you're usually meant to learn two different things at once,
Mm.
because there's one perspective on the thing, but there's also the other perspective on it.
Mhm.
And you have to really fully realize anything, you have to see both of the perspectives richly upon anything that you're looking at. And and perspective, getting this board, this soundboard into proper alignment, this is really what the plant medicine path is all about, giving you a better, oh no, 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 everything is equal. And ultimately I'm sort of like God here on the earth.
Mhm.
I'm not representative of, I'm representative of everything, even though I'm not embodying everything
Right,
and
right, right,
having
right.
everything. But I am one with all these things, and
Mhm.
there's no reason why I am anything less than the best, as everything else around me is. As we know
Right.
the law of oneness. We're all one, and all things are right, right? So, um, from this first experience, I had a ton of great experiences working with the ayahuasca over there in Los Angeles. Like I said, my mom kind of scared me away for a moment, and I
Mhm.
ended up coming back. I had my third experience, was amazing, and it wasn't the prettiest place. I always would get a little antsy on the ayahuasca, and very much on the last experience that I had, I drove home. I made Mother Ayahuasca promise me I wouldn't have to go to the bathroom, and that it was okay, because she told me that I could.
Will I
She
make
told
it
me that
home without having to stop
yeah,
for tea?
and she told me that it was okay, and that I would be more comfortable at home, and I knew I
Okay.
would be more comfortable at home, and that maybe I could process some things at home, because I'm very sensitive and empathetic. So sometimes in a room full of people, it's not super controlled and whatnot. It's harder for me to go deeper. And I saw that with this experience as well. I very much wanted to leave, and I did have experiences thereafter after I left,
Cool.
even though I stayed for longer than I planned. But I went home, and I was given some of DMT by the shaman, and I used the DMT as an active ingredient. And everybody is their own person, to do their own choices. And some people are very careful about these things, fine, but I'm very safe with
Mhm.
these plants, and I've found myself to be very safe, and I always feel beyond safe. So I felt very safe doing that, and safe sitting at home, and
Right.
having some by myself. And when I hit the thing, I just mixed it in with like a bong kind of thing, like some marijuana, and my backyard became the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my life. It was
Wow.
such a gift. I saw from this perspective that I could feel the oneness that everything had.
Mhm.
Still, at the same time, I felt the grand separation between all things. Like I could see them grandly. They were all shining brightly individually, every tree, every star, the moon. But at the same time, they were just like on top of each other.
Mm.
It was the most breathtaking and incredible thing I'd ever experienced. It was just like everything in
You
my
saw
reality was
how everything,
hugging
yeah,
itself.
you saw how everything was connected. You saw
Yeah, and I
you
said to
saw the
them,
oneness. Yes, yes.
yes, and it's really wise that you say that, Michael, because I said to them right now,
You're describing it.
I said, "Did I hallucinate? Was that a hallucination?"
Mhm.
And they said, "No, that is a perspective on reality
Wow.
that you could hold all the time.
It's so great.
You did not hallucinate at all.
That's so
We
great.
just helped you hold the highest visual perspective of the reality that you're living in. And in reality, everything is one and everything is on
Mhm,
top of each other."
mhm.
And, one of the things I've learned from that, and really recently, I've really been connecting to it. When you walk in a room, you are the room.
Right.
You are the room. You're the other person.
Right.
You are all of it.
I think for, and not that I'm having any trouble understanding this. I'm you're coming through to me clearer than normal, so it's great. I'm loving this. This is, you actually said some things earlier that made me understand some things about myself. But when you're saying everything is one, I think for me the best metaphor is the ocean,
Yeah.
because like the fish is in the ocean, but the ocean is everything, and the fish
And
is in
all
there.
of those
He's part of
drops.
it.
Yep.
Everything. It's like,
I
so
was thinking about this the other day too.
yeah.
All of the drops are making the waves crash, and the various waves they are. Some of the waves get swallowed. They get swallowed because of the other water that's coming
Mhm,
up. And oh,
mhm.
sorry, you're getting swallowed by this one. And this one takes that one's momentum, and this one takes that. And it's only some of the water that comes really far up the beach because it didn't get swallowed by the momentum of the other water droplets. It it,
Right.
it is all a
It's
cooperation, a
constant, and
cooperative.
it's infinite, and it's constant. Yeah, I mean, it's, wow, man. I feel like I did something tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's, my hope. I said a prayer
Yeah.
before I came down to do the show, and my prayer was that I hope that at the very least this would help people out there in the world to understand me more, but that as much as it could, that I hope that it would be able to help others understand themselves and to heal themselves, and possibly not have to go about it the way that I did, because as you'll see in the end, so much of my way was a real waste of my time.
Mm.
Um,
No, I think that's
and
part of the journey, right? Is making those mistakes to learn, and you know.
well, it is, but I mean, we'll remember. I'll write a little note about this, and I'll say why it's really ultimately funny.
Okay.
Um, so, I do that third experience. I have this experience in my backyard. I'm just like, man, I'm like so connected. This is great. And then for a lot of reasons, I end up having to do other things. I can't like go immediately. I don't have the money to do it, whatever. I don't remember, but I couldn't go back. And then at a certain point, and my mom has still been talking to me. Every time she talks to me, she kind of puts a lot of doubt in my head. Hey, look, she's my mom. She's just trying to, like, she's worrying about me or whatever. So she suggests I go to Peru to do ayahuasca. So I'm going to go there for 7 days, do it for five nights, and I'm out in the jungle of the Amazon or whatever else. And I am doing it for her, like really just like I want to get her off my back kind of thing.
Hmm, hmm.
And now what I was saying about the dual lessons, well, I never have a single psychedelic experience on the ayahuasca while I'm in Peru.
Oh
And
wow.
the reason that I get from Mother Ayahuasca, who I am now talking with, which now from my last experience, I cried in the realization that I have very much been on and connected with ayahuasca ever since I took it the first time,
Mhm.
and she has never left me. And while I wasn't in this upper echelon place where you're having psychedelic experiences, I was still very much connected to Mother Ayahuasca the entire time I was on the trip, and I learned very
Sure.
much from it, even though the main point of why I went on the trip and had no psychedelic experience was to teach me not to listen to my mother.
Hmm.
It was something that, like I was really excited, because for me, I was literally like, well, this isn't how I was comfortable doing it or whatever, but whatever. I'm going to go to Peru, I'll do the thing the way my
Mhm.
mom wants me to do it. And at the very least, I know I'm going to connect with Mother Ayahuasca. I love doing ayahuasca. It's great. This is going to be great. And mother said, look, this was the only way I think I could make this point to you. Stop listening to your mom.
Right.
You were having a great relationship with me. You're doing everything fine. And you kept trying to tell her that she wasn't listening. You should have just
Mhm.
been peace with it. Like,
Mhm.
not like, oh well, I guess I'll go fold and I'll do the thing that you want me to do to it. Like, and somewhere along the way, my shaman passed away, the one who I was working with in Los Angeles. So that
Oh
option
wow.
was off the table. So it was like the window for me working with him and anything was like, and I could have done it a lot more times if
Wow.
my mom hadn't started getting in my ear. But it's not my mom's fault. It's my fault that
Right.
I listened. And this was the lesson. Hey, you got to stop. You got to
Right.
stop doing that. And then additionally, though, there were so many positive things that came from the
Right.
trip,
Right.
which
Right.
is the polarity of the thing. Hey, are you going to just, yeah, or are you going to take the positive things you can get from the trip?
Right.
I had a lot of things. And one of the main things that I've got while I was there was a message from Mother Ayahuasca from the scientist of the group, Christian, who was screamed at that science was bullshit on the last night of the thing, which
Was
I
he a
thought
Christian scientist?
no, he was an engineer. And Christian, I had a conversation with him at the beginning of the trip. I was very interested to see how he was going to feel about things by the end of it. It's
Right.
funny, he was talking with me by the end of it, like knowing now, he was like, wow, Jesse, he's like, now that I have had this experience, I kind of know what you were pointing to when we first began talking.
Right. Right. Right.
And but it really touched me. You know, he called me and he had an ayahuasca dream the night after we did ayahuasca the last time. And he said, I don't know if this will mean anything to you. And I was like, of course it'll mean something to me. Like, you crazy? I'm open to all
I'm
that,
in
all sorts of
tune. Yeah.
craziness like that,
Yeah.
you know. And he says, you were in my dream last night, and it was a really crazy ayahuasca dream. And she told me you were there and you were dancing with this big beautiful snake on your shoulders, and you were, and he knew that my shoulders were like, some of my big problems.
Mhm.
And and he said, Mother Ayahuasca told me that I'm with him and I'm going to be with him until he's healed. Don't you worry.
Mm.
Sorry. When I say that it makes me want to cry, it made me want to cry when I was told at the time. It made me want to cry when I would think about it. And it made me cry even more when I connected to Mother Ayahuasca this weekend. And I realized that
Wow.
she was more with me than I was giving myself credit for.
Mm.
And that there was nothing foolish about what I thought and nothing foolish about the experience I've been having, which I've thought so many times.
Right.
And that she was very much there with me. And I wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but
Lisa says that's really cool, Jesse, which it is very cool.
but I came back from this trip, a little dissatisfied, but working and processing, and I knew certain things, and I was trying to believe, because basically so much of my message was, hey man, part of this also is hone your inner voice. You do talk to spirits, you hear from the other side, you're good at interpreting
Mhm,
energy, you're
mhm,
getting better at it. Do that. You can figure
mhm,
this out on your own.
mhm.
So I took that very much to heart. And, really for like the past bunch of years now, because that was a few years ago, I've been just sort
Mhm.
of like ravenously trying to figure things out for myself. And a big thing that I
Right.
did figure out, and I know was a thing, was I knew I was dealing with this energy that was not my own, and it was kicking my ass sometimes. It was really just taking me off my game and taking my power away.
Mhm.
And what I've come to understand, it was this, there's a wonderful
What's up, Janet?
polarity. Hey, Janet, there's a wonderful polarity that we have in our society for relationships,
Mhm,
that a good relationship is good for all of society. Our
mhm,
parents want us to have a good relationship. Our friends want us to have a good relationship. Everybody wants everybody to have a good relationship, you know, and there's this pressure that's put on it through the marriage and so much
mhm,
of
mhm,
the ritual that we put upon it
mhm,
that really hits people hard and takes away a lot of our free will
mm.
once we engage in the process, or at least it
Interesting.
makes us feel like we've given away a lot of our free will in the
Mhm,
process.
mhm, mhm.
Now, when a relationship is really meant to be, and that's the course, as is the case, I think, with my parents, and I think there's a lot of people out there who are meant to be. It's a wonderful thing. But when a well meaning man or woman goes into a relationship and comes to ultimately realize that they were afraid to face the truth that the relationship wasn't right for them, that it wasn't right thing, it remains. And staying
Mhm,
in a
mhm,
relationship just because tradition,
Mhm,
is
mhm.
not the right answer, because
Right,
you're supposed to be doing things out of love. Everything is
right,
supposed to be out
right,
of love. A relationship, the sanctity of a relationship is it's coming from love.
right.
And basically, I was told that I was brought here to heal this energetic vibration that was broken and really painful for a lot of people, was killing a lot of married couples where they
Mhm,
weren't
mhm,
happy, but they couldn't break up the relationship,
mhm.
was killing a lot of individuals and relationships that they were not, they didn't honestly feel that they were right for.
Right,
And this this thing was very hard to fix, because the greatest people among us don't wanna hurt people they love.
right, right, right.
And, for me, I broke up with a
Wow.
girlfriend, like a year ago, and it was so damn hard, less than that. It was the hardest thing like 3 seconds into it, I was like, "Oh my god, if I knew it was gonna feel like this, I wouldn't have done it." Like, it
Right,
just,
but
like,
then
killed
you
me.
would have been staying in that relationship for
Exactly. But I
a
realized that
wrong
that was why I
reason.
stayed in the
Right,
relationship with my wife as long as I
right,
had,
right, right,
and there was just so many things about it that just felt wrong to me. It's like unless you have this, or that, you're not allowed to break up a relationship or something. And
right.
of course, that's not true. You should be picking your relationships based on what feels right to you and is right to you. But
I
basically, oh, sorry, what do you have to say?
I think that there's a big misconception about what love is, and
Yeah.
love, like you're saying, and this relates to everything we talk about, language and words and power and the things that it has. Um, I think people have given a lot of power to the word love, more so than the actual feeling of what it is. You know,
Yes.
I mean,
And
yeah.
and this thing that it's this energy, it's a shame energy.
Mhm.
Um, I felt ashamed, and when I broke up with my wife, Patty, and, the reaction just wasn't the right reaction. I won't get into details of what was
Right,
said, because it was really, like, not, they didn't mean to hurt me in what they said, but I
right,
I definitely took it defensively, and I really pushed them away. I realize now that I pushed them away because, well, one, things hadn't been going really great. I was trying to communicate with them and, like, make it better, but it was kinda going bad. My
right,
mom felt very much like I was actively mad at them, and I kept telling them, "I'm not actively mad at you. I swear. I forgive you." I'm like, I just keep getting wrapped up in wanting to talk about it, and,
right.
it took me a while to, like, kinda put that away.
Sure.
But when this happened, the shame that welled up in me of breaking the family chain.
Mm,
I'm the oldest son. I come from a family that's,
right.
they're married, their relationship, Patty's relation parents are together, even though I think that maybe, you know, the two of them might be happier in another relationship. I've sometimes thought my parents might be happier in another relationship, although I
Right.
do believe that they've come past that time where I ever felt, because there was a moment where I thought maybe they would be happier. And, like, and I'm pretty dispassionate kind of when it comes to those things. I think people should be happy, and, like, you don't seem happy.
Right.
But, I do think my parents are, very meant to be. But I see this energy. I see this energy within society of not wanting to hurt our families, not wanting
Right.
to ruin our credibility by, not, you can't get a relationship right, huh, son? Couldn't satisfy your woman. Like, there's just so many things. And
Mhm,
and honestly, there was a certain part of that in my relationship too, because,
mhm.
she wasn't as into lovemaking as I was. That was always kind of the thing for our relationship. And,
Right.
I now know that there are other people who maybe do match my energy for that a little bit. And also, I'm sure that Patty's probably has increased since being out of just
Right.
a high school relationship with me.
Sure,
You
sure,
know,
sure.
so often, like, she had been, physically, assaulted in some
Mm,
fashions when she was younger, and these things tend to make it so that you take your frustrations and you can put them into the physical, because that's where your stress is hidden.
right,
So
right,
when your
right,
stress comes up, it's like, oh, well, I don't want to be touched now.
right.
So there were things, but I was a young kid, she was a young girl, and,
Sure.
and we were really, I just, like, basically couldn't find the right reason to break up, kind of thing. And
Right.
so I pushed my family away during this time in a big fashion, because I was just like, I need to process this. And I processed it as much as I could. I really had to process all these things about myself in terms of, um, things that I had done to guard myself, because I was very sensitive, and, you know, uh, hobbies, keeping busy, playing
Mhm.
sports, being athletic, burning off
Mhm.
energy.
Mhm.
When I stopped doing that because I was injured at 30, I don't know if I've mentioned before, at 30, I
Mhm.
realized I had chronic pain. That really urged on my spiritual journey with the
Right.
plant medicine, because I was like, I need to get to the bottom of whatever energy, because this is how it works, guys. We talked about what came first, the chicken or the egg. It's the idea for the chicken, the idea for the egg, right? That comes first. So the idea that turns into your broken arm. And it's really true. The idea that turns into a car accident, the idea that turns into your cancer. There are ideas in us, energies within us that will attract the calamity. And when it's not there, it doesn't happen, because we live in a world of ideas. And it's this ideation that comes from the energy forming in our bodies that needs something to satisfy it. The same way our love needs something to
It's
satisfy it when we're
yeah.
satisfied
It's
with the
hard to
world.
understand. It's hard to understand, but a lot of spiritual gurus, they talk about that dis-ease.
Yes,
They talk
yes.
about how, these situations are created by energy and thought.
Exactly. And that dis-ease is sort of calling out for something to match with.
Mhm.
Your ease and love is calling out for a great movie to watch, or a great person to hang out with, or something fun to do, or a great day at work. Your dis-ease is calling out for a car accident. It's calling out for cancer. It's calling out
Mhm.
for a broken arm, because this thing will help you exercise the lesson that you need to bring about the real healing to the part of you. And this was something that I also inherently knew when
Mhm.
I did that psilocybin the first time, and why I was digging deep into meditation, because I knew I had been hit by the car, and I had played football and lacrosse, and I had a lot of
Right.
head injuries. So I started meditating a lot, because I saw that was something that was better for you. And the psilocybin's actually good for you like that.
Right.
So I was doing all these things, knowingly trying to heal what was damaged within me. And I also was aware that there was a certain amount of things that are kind of blocked from you. And
Mhm.
some things I would be connected to or see, and I would try to heal them without connecting to them too hard. And my angels would tell me that you don't have to experience that the way your mom did. Like my mom experienced being
Mhm.
burned at the stake, and that was very scary. And a
Mhm.
couple other things were very frightening. And I experienced them kind of vicariously. Like when she told me about them, I experienced them as she told me about them.
Wow.
And I was like, wow.
That was like
Like,
a past life thing for your mom?
yeah, and I
Wow.
didn't have to experience it like on that deep level like that, but it was like
Right.
somebody walked over my grave. I'm like,
Right. Wow.
I connect to this. Like I'm
Sure,
like
sure, sure.
part of my difficulty is
Right, right.
related to this sort of experience of
Wow.
people that I know and love being hurt,
Mhm.
things like this happening. This is a
Mhm,
part
mhm,
of my journey.
mhm,
And so like there was a lot of things like that where I was able to kind of connect with some things lightly. But because of that, I also knew that, well, maybe there were some things. And because I was dealing with this thing that was like more than just me divorcing my family or whatever, I was carrying the energy for the whole. My family,
mhm,
all my family through the chain, the whole Snyder family, the Gargiulo family, and
mhm,
more, because we're all really connected, really, really connected. So it's like a lot of the planet, like a
mhm,
big
mhm,
chunk of the genetic code of people. And because the way these elemental things work, like the energetic patterns work, is an energy, an energy is formed when there's a lot of something. Well, I guess it's just when there's one something, and then there's an energy pattern. But now that there's two, there's a larger energy pattern that governs them all. So there's more birds and more birds, more birds. There's a big energy pattern that's governing every single one of the birds, right? Because that's the thing. God is just the big energy pattern who's governing every single thing there is in existence,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
So through the ideation of the thing, I am part of the idea that is shameful to break up your family, shameful to be a single father, shameful to not be able to send your wife money right now because you don't have the money, shameful not to be able to do this and that and the other thing,
mhm,
shameful not to have a home, shameful, to have to live in your car, shameful to do anything that is beyond this sort of top tier of being the father, the caretaker, the man. I had to come to this realization that my kids knew I loved them.
mhm,
My kids knew I loved them. And that was what mattered the most. And it's so
mhm,
funny, as my mom has been connecting to her past and connecting with her mother, who did a lot of things wrong. But I
mhm.
tell you what, my mother has never not known for a second that her mother loves her, and has never not loved her mother so deeply, has
That's
just
great.
always forgiven her mother for anything she did, because
Right.
she loved her mother. And I believe I have that relationship with my kids. They know they know how much I love them,
Right.
and that I am here for them, and I am doing the best I can. And I think the best I can is
You
a
are.
lot better than my
Yeah.
grandmother's. But even though my grandmother
Yeah.
was a wonderful lady and she was doing the best she could,
Sure.
but
Sure. So
you know, I
we got a comment here that's relevant.
sure.
Lisa says her body has nothing to do with her injuries, past life regressions. I think I understand what she's trying to say. Lisa,
Well,
what
let
do
me
you?
say to you,
Yeah.
Lisa, all you have to do is connect to the idea, you know, what is it that you're feeling? You know, try to really just go deeply and meditate and what do you feel? It's when my mom was saying she was burnt at the stake and that, you know, she was outside crying because she knew that her friends were inside being tortured and killed. And when she said that to me,
You felt
ooh,
it.
I
Yeah.
felt it. You know, when I watched
You
the movie
definitely have a sensitivity that's like timeless. It goes through dimensions of time. It's interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When I saw the movie Braveheart, I remember when Robert the Bruise falls off the horse and his helmet falls off and Mel Gibson's character sees that his friend has betrayed him. That stuck through me.
Mhm.
You know, and even though I couldn't remember and like I said, I've been told like there's no need for me to remember, it would just sort of stir up old wounds. I just had to forgive.
Right.
And
Right.
basically I came to remember that, you know, I have been betrayed and it's why it hurt so badly when I was a teenager and I was in a friend group and everybody turned on me and
Right.
I never wanted to have groups of friends again. And then when my
Right.
parents were trying to like sort of parent me, but like kind of like hard nosed parent me, it made me run away because I
Right.
felt like a group was ganging up on me again.
So all of the yeah, it's interesting because we're getting some really good feedback. Taylor said this earlier, um, and I didn't put it up, but it's I think it's relevant to what you're saying now. Um, she's saying my brother told me regret requires looking at an idealized version of the past, and for us to believe where we are now, we have to have gone through what we did. You
Yeah.
know, and which is basically, you know, what we always talk about, you know, all of these everything that we've gone through makes up who we are. And there's a reason, you know, there's a reason for all these experiences that we have, and they're teaching us something.
Well, at the same time, though, I've always also intuitively known about the multiverse, which means there's a universe where I did get off my ass and do that thing, and there's a universe where I had the energy. But at the same time, I think I've come to realize that the multiverse is actually filled with us with different energy underneath us,
Yeah,
and that
it's
the
just a
energy is
different frequency.
clicking
Exactly.
underneath.
It's a frequency. It's just,
Yeah.
you know,
So, so where does that bring us? I guess it brings me to my recent.
we haven't even gotten to the story, and we're
Well,
it's
this is really
awesome. No, this is
this is
great.
really
I
the
love
short
this
piece.
discussion.
I figured we would go over just a little bit, but
This
I
is a
figured
great
I would
discussion,
keep it
dude.
to an hour and a
Yeah,
half or
this
whatever
is awesome.
of whatever seemed natural. Um, so I was able to, as I've talked about a little bit, really heal things with my family as I got a little bit of a handle on this energy myself. My brother Cody eventually reached out to me and connected a piece which was very major for me that I didn't feel like I could do myself, which was bringing my family together for a healing circle. And we got to come together this year, and they helped me kind of process this energy because part of the shame of carrying this energy was feeling like your family wasn't going to love you anymore, wasn't going to care about you anymore because
Mhm.
you did the bad thing. You're a bad boy. You got a divorce, you know. And I
Right.
literally processing the energy. Part of the energy that I was processing was, I'm not a bad boy. I'm not a bad boy. I'm not a bad boy. So this was a few months ago, and you know, generally I've been feeling really good, but as of late, you know, like as like things were like kind of going good, and I kind of got to a point where I was like stirring all over again and kind of felt like I was losing my mind. And, you know, there was still like little pieces of my body that just like weren't feeling great. And, you know, and like my heart, you know, the blockage in my heart, I was feeling like I was trying to open it up in lots of different ways and doing things. And I do things all the time, but I tend to not really think much of the work that I do.
Mhm.
And that was one of the gifts of this past, like, you know, weekend was I
Okay.
think in the future I'm going to feel like I've done something when I'm doing something and not like I'm a
Oh,
fool.
good.
And that was really important to me.
You
But
know, I was going to talk about that earlier. How you were saying these things about being in tune, and how you're doing these tarot readings now, and you're like, I mean, you are so in tune, and man, tonight listening to you talk, sometimes it's like hard to follow you, but I'm like listening. I'm like, man, we should be charging lots of money for this. This is like Jesse and the love guru. It's like, all about love. This is great, man. I'm so happy to hear where you're at. I can feel it.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
I
man.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
And it's funny, my girl Julie, she before I went into ceremony, she said to me, she doesn't really understand these things, as I was saying. And she said to me, I don't understand. There's nothing wrong with you. You're great. You're wonderful. You're sweet to
Mhm.
everybody. You're just
So
filled
what
with
I always
love.
say.
You're a big kid. Like, I love you. I think you're the best. Like, I mean, like, I'm in love with you. Like, you're just incredible.
Right. What are you
What
looking
is
for?
I don't understand really, like, why you're doing this. And I don't remember what I said to her, but
Good
you know
story.
well, but it relates to what happened in
Okay.
ceremony.
Okay.
So I went in to do the thing, and I was actually going to have a friend here to maybe talk a little bit, and I guess this is why not, because this was going to go longer than I thought, to maybe talk about some of his experiences to kind of back me up or whatever.
Mhm.
I made a great friend there, Rudy. Shout out to Rudy. He and I like just bonded immediately. And
Awesome.
he lives in Venice. He's not too far away, so we're gonna be buds. Long story short, Cody loves this space, loves these people, and they are wonderful. They do a great space. And I'm not going to get too much into like what they do and stuff because it would take a
Mhm,
long time
mhm,
to explain. But I took the medicine and I asked for a strong dose, and I ended up taking the 3 cups that were offered throughout the night as strong as I could get it. And I went I was meditating and it kicked in sooner than I imagined.
mhm.
And it kicked in and I was like, "Oh, cool. It's like it is kicking in." Like, sometimes I'd struggled with the medicine like kicking in during the first cup and sometimes it didn't kick in into the
Right.
second
But
or third.
you were like, it's
And
happening.
this time I'm like, "Yep, it's happening. First cup." And as soon as it kicks in, my left shoulder just heals. Just heals.
Wow.
And it feels like somebody lit a fuse and it's just sort of like just
Wow.
like the main thing that's been driving me nuts. It's just like
Gone.
gone.
Wow.
And I start like blinking my eyes. I'm like, Mother Ayahuasca, what?
Is this real?
Yeah, like what? Like my process is you lead me to the water, I drink it, I poop. Like not you just miraculously heal me. Like what is this? Like
Mhm, mhm,
she's like, you're all better. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm all better? She's like, you're all better, baby. You've been all better. You're just really hard on yourself. And then I see
mhm,
myself in
mhm,
this sort of like white room. It's not a room. It's just sort of like a white flat space and like out and it goes out in every direction, but like it's like like the it's like black faded black around you. So like
mhm,
you're only like in this like space. Like you're not like in a big space. It feels like a intimate space. It's kind
mhm,
of hard to describe, but it just
mhm.
sort of like, but it also at the same time, it just feels like it's just an open space. And she's like, yeah, what'd you come here to learn, baby? And I said, um, uh, to what did I say? I said to heal myself. She said, "You're healed." And she's like, "I've been telling you you're healed. Like you just got to do some things, and you've been better about that. You're starting to do some things." And I am.
Mhm,
I'm playing baseball. Julie's been a really good influence on me, like because
mhm,
she's really athletic and she likes to play games and play sports and stuff, and I do
mhm,
too.
mhm,
So so I've been doing things, and she's like, "You're doing things. You're healed. You're fine. Of course, there may be some psychological feeling or whatever, but it's gonna take moving around to realize
mhm.
your wholeness."
Right.
And I've told you this a million times, how come you don't listen? And I was like, yeah, uh-huh. And she's like, and what else? And I'm like, and at the time, actually, like I forget what the other thing was. There was like a smaller thing, and it was again like I had the answer to it. And
Mhm.
she was like, so what else you looking for, man?
dude.
and I
You
went.
mentioned me because like I tell you this stuff all the time. I'm like,
Well, it's so funny. So many people, as I've been saying this to them, they keep saying to me, "You know, I've been telling you this for a while now, right?" And I'm like, I know so many people are going to be so satisfied. That's what Aaron said that
oh
when I
my
told
god, dude.
him.
I'm
That's what
like, you know
Julie
what you need to
said.
do, Jesse? You need to be Jesse.
Just
I
fucking
said that
relax,
literally
man.
to you. I literally said that to you.
So so so
I love it.
what's said? So it said that I'm so I'm like, okay, I don't have any. Oh, that's what I say to her. I say, but like, don't I have like bad energy in me or something? Like, and she's like, what bad energy? And I said, like, I don't know, like the energy that's like blocking me or something. And she's like, sweetie, what do you think about 24 hours a day? I'm like, good things mostly. And she's like, so what do you think is in your what kind of energy do you think is in the body of a person who mostly thinks good things
I mean,
most of the
all you
time?
talk about is how love is
I know,
everything.
I know. And I'm literally like, mostly good things, I guess.
Mostly good things.
And she's like, all good things. There's all good things in your body.
This is so
There's
great.
nothing bad in your body. That I don't know why you think that there's anything bad in your body. There's nothing bad. And like it makes me want to cry. Because I did, like, I
Yeah, man.
just, like I went on a journey, like when I realized that, like, well, something was stopping me from being able to like really connect with the peace that I found immediately 10 years ago when I did, psilocybin the first time. 10 years ago, I
Right.
was like, oh my God, this is it. Peace. I got it. I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
fix everything. It's
So,
going to be like this all the time.
all right.
Like,
So I got to ask you something. This is totally unrelated.
sure.
I've been thinking about this and I forgot to do it. Do you like this better?
No.
No. You like this better?
I like our thing.
Okay.
I like our vibe. Definitely don't like that.
It was
I don't
just
like the
another way
big head things better.
it was just another way to set it up.
So here it is, to wrap this up. I got kind of antsy in the ceremony afterwards, even though I did learn a whole bunch of things. And I was there to help some people too. The person next to me was having a hard time. She thanked me many times for
Mhm.
holding some good space for her and just helping her feel like she could take it. Usually they tell you, don't touch them, you might absorb their energy, whatever. I, I really am very strong on the medicine. I saw her struggling. I put my hands on her back. I saw immediately it was helping her. She turned around, she grabbed my hand, she went, "Thank you so much." So
Wow.
like, so it was nice. I was able to kind of be there in a good capacity. I made some
Right.
friends. I saw the space that they hold. I think I might get involved with them in their space in the future, possibly.
Interesting.
Um, and so it's funny because I was very much like, I'm never going to do this again. But then the next day, I had two other experiences. I went home and I connected late in the evening, just the way I normally do. And when I went to go connect like I did, I launched into a full ayahuasca experience. This time, I asked for every specific place that I'd ever thought about in my body that was giving me pain, and I asked for different healing, in each of the
Right.
thing, and I felt them moving around and heal me the whole time. It was amazing. And I had a really long cry about my kids, about missing my kids, and basically Mother Ayahuasca just kind of patted my back and went, "It's okay, it's okay to cry. It's okay,
Right.
you love them and you miss
Right.
them, and you feel like this, and let
Yeah.
it out. And I know you can't always let it out, and you probably couldn't have let it out so easy there in the ceremony with with 20 people, but you can let it out here with me." And I was crying and sobbing and whatever, and that was really nice. And there was some more things to it. But then the next day, after I got my work done for the day, I went for like an afternoon like ceremony because I had such a nice time the day before, and I hadn't smoked leading up to the ceremony, so I was like really kind of clean. And I had another one, and
Hmm.
this one was the one. I mean, like, was like the real, like, the finisher to the whole thing. I cleared my aura, and basically they showed me the thing that was bothering my heart. It was kind of like a piece of glass that had like stuck in my heart, and then it had been like hammered in, like, or a piece of steel.
Hmm.
And they like sort of like lifted it up for me, and they were like, take it out, like break it down. And they had me break down energetically every one of these auras. I mean, every one of
Wow.
these things, which just looked like sort of spikes in my chest. I mean, spikes in all of my different auras. So, like it was just like literally just like a spike sticking in
Right.
there. And I would dissolve the edge of it. So I would dissolve here, and then all that would be left would be the thorn. So like I would dissolve it and I would like clean the area so the aura was there, and I would pop out the thorn and there would be a hole that I would see in my body, and then I would heal the hole after I got it away. The one that was
Wow.
in my solar plexus was the hardest one because they said there was a collective of fear that's sort of pressing against all of us, and it presses against our solar plexus. And I'm very sensitive, so I feel
Mhm.
this thing, and I literally had to kind of push it away after I blocked it away. I was like, "You back off, man." And I undid all these things. When I finished undoing all my chakras, like for my normal thing, I was connect myself up to my 13th chakra, which I consider to be the home of God, or the
Mhm.
God of this universe, whatever. I saw, in my very vague vision that I tend to have, this man falling, like, and I kind of understood it to be a higher part of myself falling from the
Mhm.
top of my thing, like just falling. And he was, but it wasn't like a man like me dressed in clothes. He was wrapped in an energetic hazmat suit, a blue energetic hazmat suit, and he was
Okay.
just falling towards my head. And when he got to my head, he got sucked into my head, and when he came into my body, I felt a renewed sort of wholeness in my
Wow.
body. And I immediately did this like spontaneous ceremony with my plant medicine to kind of lock it into me, lock that part of me into myself, and to understand that that was me and not like some other thing or anything else, but that was me. It was a higher part of myself that was joining with me, and that I was meant to just sort of include it amongst myself from
Right.
now on. That was now, that was now going to be
Yeah.
my new existence.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And as I said to this, the room, you always do share after you do the ayahuasca, which is like my favorite part to hear when people are really like honest and they do share. It's great to hear what the experiences are of some of these people. And I told them after I thanked my mom for the experience, because I wouldn't have been able to do it if she didn't pay for it, because right now I'm like putting all my money to like plane flights for the kids and
Right.
shit.
Right. Right.
I said, I guess I want to welcome you to the first day of the rest of my life, because like I've just been on this journey for a really long time of trying to heal myself, and I guess I just didn't know when to stop, even though like I have kind of gotten so many of these messages before, but I tend not to listen to myself exactly.
Right.
And I just had the easiest night of doing ayahuasca that I've ever had in my life. I didn't poop, I didn't throw up, I didn't anything. I was definitely high on the medicine. I enjoyed the whole night. I had a wonderful time, but
It
Mother
sounds like
Ayahuasca was
it
just,
sounds like a major breakthrough, dude. And
yeah, I mean, she
so,
literally just told me like, "What am I supposed to teach you? Like,
yeah,
what don't you understand that
I, I
that you
think
need
I
to
think
know?"
I think honestly, what I'm getting, what my guides are telling me, is that's exactly right. You are meant to share this and guide people, either not necessarily guide people to it, but what
Help
what,
people understand, I think, is really
yeah,
what I
and
feel.
what ayahuasca does, is good regardless. I mean, forget the ayahuasca part. I mean, it's all about self-realization. It's all about becoming one with the oneness. It's all about all of these things, right? So I just feel like I'm definitely seeing a nice renewed Jesse. I'm very happy to see you
Yeah,
where
I
you're
feel
at,
like a
for
new
sure.
man.
And actually, we had a comment earlier, Lisa. It was funny because Lisa's like, she says, "I know I'm supposed to learn something from you, Jesse. That's why I'm here." And then like you're talking and you're talking, and then all of a sudden she's like, "There it is. That's it. That's
That's
the
it.
key." She, whatever it was, she knew she was supposed to learn. She learned it, and
Yeah.
that's just amazing. Like I do
Well,
really feel like you articulate this stuff well. Uh,
thank you. I think there is a key too, for me, and I don't know what there is to learn from it, but it's about peace. The thing that was driving my depression, I understood on some level, which is why I didn't really understand exactly that green was about my depression. But the song Green that I wrote for Blacklight District, um, it's
mhm.
about envying the others around you, feeling like they have found inner peace and you don't have it.
Oh, I felt that way so
Searching
often.
Yeah, searching for
Yeah.
peace, and to basically I've been searching for peace my whole life, and plenty of my journey has been absolutely right. But what I wanted to say, what I wrote down before is like, my ex-wife Patty, she would always be struggling to get out of the house and freaking out about it. And I would always say to her, sweetie, how many times have you been freaking out about getting out of the house? And we get there on time anyway. We do. And most of the time, that's what would happen. And I would say, and see,
Mhm.
you spend all that time worrying about the
All
thing,
that energy. Yeah, yeah.
all that energy that you wasted. And I literally, like, I'm just like staring me in the face. I'm like, Jesse, all that time, wasting all that energy worrying that, well, maybe there's more, and maybe I don't have enough. And I mean, look, man, I want to get it right. I love my family so much that I want to be the best son, and I want to be the best father, and I want to be the
Mhm.
best brother and sibling, and best member of this community, of planet Earth community, that I can be. That I want to use my mind and my heart, and my talents for good. And the idea that I wasn't doing that killed me,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I burst into this world with that intention. And when I became conscious that my actual execution of my existence was not exactly checking all those boxes,
Mhm.
I became mortified about it.
Right.
So, but I trust Mother Ayahuasca. I've been working with her a long time,
Yeah,
and I
man.
really feel like now, like, she never left me, as I knew she didn't
Yeah.
at some level. And and I think I'm just going to be trusting myself a lot more in the future. And
No, it's a great breakthrough. So it's
I
awesome.
feel like I'm at peace. I feel like I have been
Well, you know
given the
what?
gift of peace.
So I'm thinking that, and I feel this for me too, and I think this is why we get along so well, and kind of where we are similar. Um, because we are very different, but where we are similar is that same kind of thing, like trying to seek peace and being like, how do I seek peace? I see other people, I feel like they have it, but really, our purpose is to give peace because we are at peace and we are peace.
Yes, yes,
You
that's the
know.
thing. And Angela very sweetly said, "You are about as negative as a Care Bear." Your energy has helped me from across the country. And Angela is just one of
Amazing.
many people who I know I've been there for them in just I do this because I know that it is within my power to do it. I see
Yeah.
what an effect it has on people. But
Sure.
when people come to me and I see them say something that's a little negative about themselves or whatever, I just always give people some,
Oh my
and
God.
they'll remember, and give
Always.
them some, positive kind of
Yeah.
reinforcement. And I do that all the time, and it is true.
Yeah.
And and that was so much of, I got to thank Julie for saying what she said, to me the day before, because I think it was that anchor when Mother Ayahuasca was like, "You're okay. There's nothing wrong with you." I was like, Julie just said that to me, and she's like, "Yeah, she's right. There's nothing wrong with you."
Yeah, but
And I
and you
was
know
like,
what? And
"Okay,
that's all right too. There's nothing wrong with feeling like I think something's wrong with me and trying to figure it out. And then
yeah,
because then eventually look at what happens. You figure it
yeah."
out. And how
And I
awesome is
mean,
it?
to some degree, there were things wrong with me, at times,
Right.
but
And
to a
there still
large
will
degree,
be.
yeah, but to a large degree, and this is really the lesson that I want to give to everybody. To a really large degree, I was awoken the moment I became conscious.
Yeah.
That's why this is the live stream of consciousness. On that day, I took those mushrooms, and for me, it was that. For other people, it can be meditation, and there's a lot of different ways to get there. But for me, it was that experience, and I became conscious. Consciousness made me grateful. Gratitude made me want to get it right. My
Mhm.
desire to get it right has driven me the rest of the way. I could have also felt just great about it the whole time and not beat myself up about it the whole time. I could have recognized what
Right.
I did know, which was I I knew that I was good and I wanted to be good, and I saw what the path to being better was, and I was
Right.
going to be that better. I was going to understand the way this world works so I could be that person.
Yeah.
I was on that path. So at that point, why am I yelling at myself anymore? I can't believe, like, now I'm
Oh,
like,
Jesse.
I'm like, I spent 10 years being a douche to myself. And I hope that all of you guys at home can maybe spend, the next, like,
Less time.
yeah, spend the next, like, whatever time of your life that you're trying to pursue conscious behavior. You're here, you're trying to listen to me and Michael talk about these things. You're conscious.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and
absolutely.
and try to get to the heart of that consciousness, the gratitude, because it
Mhm.
is about gratitude. It's when consciousness is when you become grateful for the fact that there are these infinite things and they're all part of you, and they can all be a part of you in the right
Yeah,
way if you just get yourself together.
yeah.
And don't block yourself from the joy of that comes immediately. And you know what? I did have some joy that came immediately from that initial psilocybin experience. And honestly, it was my body pain that ultimately was the thing that drove me really mad and stopped me from feeling like I could get over it. And that was, I guess, the lingering thing that was keeping me in this stage of just kind of looking at it, because it wasn't exactly gone. But on some level, I knew for a long time that all I had to do was work. That had been my message from ayahuasca when I had done it previously, and nothing had changed in the past bunch of years. She's like, "Yeah,
Wow.
I told you to play sports 3 years ago. What are you doing? Like, go play some football. Have a nice time. You'll love yourself. It'll
Listen
be
to
great."
your mother.
Yeah, listen to your mother, goddamn it. Listen to your mother, ayahuasca.
So,
So
so
that's it.
yeah, I mean, I just want to say, like,
That is the ayahuasca episode.
yeah, we the ayahuasca episode. So we talk about love a lot, and initially we started this as love is law, and it really is everything, and expressing love and trying to spread love. But I want to say, and it's just another word that you got to add into the equation, because it's the key,
Oh,
and
ooh,
that
ooh.
is
Guru Michael, what do you got for me?
self love.
Yes.
In order to understand love, and what I said before about how we have this kind of wrong idea about love is love, and oh, I need to be in a relationship and all of these things. Love starts with self-love. You can't be in a relationship until you love yourself. It's impossible.
Yes, it's
You know what I mean?
true.
Because
And really,
that's the relationship is your
you
relationship with yourself.
yeah, so often I say something and I kind of mean another thing, and this is one of those instances where you pull the other thing that I meant right out of the basket, and really what I meant when I said about my appreciation for Julie,
Mhm,
um, what she allowed me to connect to was self-love,
mhm.
because there was another person who said, "You're good to everybody. You're a sweet guy."
Yes.
It was just a few things
Thank
that
you,
she
Julie.
said in that I don't understand why this is, and she just listed a few, tenets of my personality that she
Mhm.
saw that were in her mind the best they could be.
Right.
um you know and seeing that and being told that by the spirits, it was like the magic is saying this to me, and the physical world just said it has just said the same thing to me. and
That's
and there
amazing.
and there have been other messages like this as well, and I have to link up. The last thing I'll say, because it's just kind of
What
a
a
cute
great
little
episode. I
little
love it.
little
Ooh.
story to close us out. And I'll say first, before I wrap up with this little anecdote. Thank you to Angela Taylor, Lisa at Leaping Games, everybody who's Mackenzie, love to see you in here, and all the people who are just watching and checking it out, and we'll
You
check
have
it out
introduced me
afterward.
to a lot of a lot of the people who watch our show have reached out to me, and we've become friends, and it's real, man. The energy, it's the connected energy, it's
We
real.
have we have lovely people. What can I
Yeah,
say?
we do.
We attract a lovely bunch,
We do.
because we are a lovely bunch. And yeah, guys. So thank you so much for participating in this conversation. I'm kind of going to go back in and actually like look at some of the things that were said, because some of it was like going by before I could get a chance to read things and whatnot. But I love you. I love you for watching. Thank you for everybody on Twitch. Anybody who donated to the Rams Network. Thank you for us being hosted on the Rams Network. Me and Michael are going to be working on getting our promotion thing going with them pretty good, crack-a-lacking. And yeah, and thank you, Michael, for producing our show with
Oh,
the things,
it's
getting this
my
stuff
pleasure. I
together,
love that.
and
And
for sitting back today and letting me talk about this. I, I
yeah,
I did think ultimately it would be good medicine for everybody. So when I heard you saying, "Ooh, I'm like getting things from this," I was like, "All right, cool." I felt good about doing it.
absolutely. And by the way, this is, you were talking about doing things that you're supposed to be doing. This is one of them.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And so the last thing I'll say is, I'm a divorced father of four, and I've been a little brokenhearted and, about many different things, friends and friends groups and girlfriends and things. And over time, I really closed my heart down in a lot of ways, but I've been opening it up. And in some fashions, my new girlfriend, Julie, I mean, she is just what a top notch human being she is. But I feel a little closed. To her in some fashions, and I asked Mother Ayahuasca about it while I was sitting there, and literally like a moment after I asked her, the couple who was in ceremony with me, a couple, they got two kids, they own like a cycling place. They start playing a song because he plays guitar and he had talked with them the day before, and like so he plays this song about relationships, and the chorus of the song was, every day I love her just a little bit more. Every day I love her just a little bit more. Every day I love her just a little bit more. And she loves me just the same. And Julie has like from the start just sort of been like, you'll do. Like I'll take one. Like sold. She's a Jesse fan. She's like really head over heels in love with me. She's just like,
That's
yes,
awesome.
you're the best. I win. Like, and it's
That's
very
awesome.
it's very sweet. And I tend to be like such an intellectual, like, and I tend not to think in like those terms. I'm like, oh, well, like there's a million fish, people who look
Right,
different
right,
ways,
right.
and nobody's the most anything, and like, so like I have like a real like sort of weird practice. But I mean, part of that comes from also being heartbroken. I realize,
Mhm,
over time and things like
mhm.
this, like not necessarily like working out or whatever, but I realize, like every time I see her, there was this thing I said about like I love her a little more every time I see her, and it's really true. And like I stopped thinking. I asked the question of Mother Ayahuasca, and every time I see my baby, I love her a little more. Every time I see her, I love her a little more, and she loves me just the same. And it just really like hit me that like made me at peace with it. I was like,
Uh,
well, I'm having a great time, and every time I see her, I love her a little bit more, and she loves me just the
she
same.
was
And
already there.
yeah, exactly. Who can beat that?
Yeah,
Who's complaining about that?
that's
So
awesome,
that
dude.
was like one of my other like wonderful little realizations this time on Aya. But it's great, and if anybody ever has any questions or things about these things, and I should say this more often, but I am open to a nice message. Just write me a nice message. Don't do the thing where you go, hey, don't give me a hey, and try to like corner me live on the thing and go back and forth. I don't do that, please. I only have so much time, but like if I can do the message and I can make time to like have a conversation about something and stuff, I'm always really happy to do that. And I do that with people, with
Yeah, you're a
everybody.
pretty cool
You
guy.
know, Angela asks me for lots of advice here there when she needs the right thing. But I mean, and
Yes,
granted,
Taylor, you can
as
DM anything
as
to
these
us.
things grow, it'll probably be a little bit harder for me to do it. But of course, I will try to get back to people when I can. With whatever guidance I can. If you don't feel comfortable putting it up here, but I urge you in the future, if you got things to talk about, especially towards the beginning of the show, I would love for you guys to throw out into the playing field for me and Michael what you're dealing with. Me and Michael have both we've lived a lot of life, and we've come in with a lot of innate knowledge, thankfully, and then we've really refined it over time, trying to understand what we knew, and in some cases, really like beat ourselves up for no good reason
And
learning.
some stuff we don't know.
Yeah, and some stuff we don't know, but at the same time, you know, I think most people can, I don't say that, to a certain degree, it's like
We know everything.
you do know everything
Alright?
because everything is very simple, and there are details and stuff to stuff. But when you really start to get down to how it works, it does become a little simple. And I do find that largely I don't have a lot of people that come to me and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to say to this person. I mean, sometimes it happens, where just like I just don't want to hurt them in a fragile state or something like that. But largely I can usually see a little bit of the perspective that they may be missing, because that's it. Life is about perspective.
Mhm,
And when you
mhm.
find someone who you can trust, who you want to ask a little perspective for, and also, if you're somebody who's into readings, I do card readings, as he says, hit me up and I'll get you on the schedule and I'll do a card reading for you. That can be very helpful. And it's I'm always, once I see what is clicking and what is what's being understood from the reading, you know, I always try to give some good direction in terms of, what you can learn from this or how you can take this through. So, that's something too, if you ever want to spend a little bit more time with me, working out these things. But, we certainly have some things to offer from this understanding. I guess there is one last thing to say, and it's just a quick thing, but there's
Not
this
the last
illusion.
thing.
Yeah, but there's this illusion that we have, I think, sometimes, that like it never ends, that the learning never ends. It's just, well, you're growing forever. And yeah, that's true. But the octave changes, the thing changes. Right now, we're in an octave where we're growing and it's painful.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm entering into the new version. I'm still growing. It's just not
I heard your
painful
voice crack
anymore.
a little bit there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still growing. It's just not painful anymore. And that's the shift that we want to make. As soon as we become conscious, that's when we really have been given permission to stop making it painful on ourselves.
Right.
It no longer has to be painful if we're trying to consciously do a better job
Right.
and learn.
Cool.
And
I
that's
like that. I like
that's
that.
the real thing there.
Interesting. You
So
look forward to that pain the next time because you know you're going to grow from it.
yeah, exactly. And getting the right perspective on that. Of course, problems are going to manifest and whatever, and learning from them the right way, but being able to react to them okay. Like, I forgot there was something that happened the other day, and I was so proud of myself how I reacted to it. I played at my second baseball game. I was warming up. I went to go sprint. I pulled my quad muscle. Like, pretty bad. It still hurts.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm going to be fine though. And I didn't panic. I just immediately went, that's a good lesson for you, man. You haven't done this in a while. You got to be a little bit more careful with that. Like, I swear I didn't get upset. I was literally just like, that's a good
That's
one,
perfect.
buddy. Like, if you didn't learn this lesson like this, you probably wouldn't have taken it seriously. But look, you really kind of hurt your leg.
What an amazing way to go. I feel like I've gone through most of my life that way. People never understood like why I don't get upset at things. You know what I mean?
Because that's the answer. That's the way to do it. And that's what I say when I say that you and I are different. So we have different ones. There's different ways that our innate knowing from caring about this path, caring about the path of righteousness, has brought forth in us each unique kind of skills and perspective that a lot of other people don't have. But thank God, we get to carry them naturally, and just like really just, I always just did it like that because I don't know why. And then eventually one day you're like, oh well, now I see why there really is a method to my madness there. And that's the wonderful thing of it, and why sometimes people follow gurus or follow a sports athlete he just seems to be able to be doing it right. What is he doing? I want to know what he's doing. And there's some things that that can't be taught just like that. They do come innate, and and then you want to deal with those people and suck in their vibrations in their brains.
Exactly.
But anyway,
what a great show, dude.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us for another fabulous live stream of consciousness.
Thank you, everybody.
Michael, for giving me the floor. And, we're going to be like announcing next week a calendar for the show. And, so that every week when we finish up the show, we can be like, we're doing this, we're talking about this, whatever it might be. And I think we're going to probably have a little bit of
next week for.
Exactly. And I think we're going to have a little bit of a mix of guests and topics that would be really fun to tackle. And me and Michael are about to have a little powwow, talk about it after we get off here. But thank you so much for joining us for this show and hearing this my story of the medicine path. And I hope that it's illuminated you to what this really means and what I've meant when I've said that I'm a plant medicine man, and I work with plants, and I try to grow myself with the experience.
Yeah.
Love you all.
We love you. Bye-bye.